much everybody here's a bit of an old hand or has some experience. Um, so yeah, I'll give a little bit, and then I'll give a Dhamma talk, and we'll have some question and answer Q&A, and then we can do some chanting to finish off. And kind of chanting is nice in the evening. This is, I guess, a bit of a hint. Before you go to sleep, it just kind of helps soothe things down and you can spread metta kind of with it. So anyway, we'll do that. Okay, so everyone can get comfortable, upright and comfortable. That's the key. So Lumpur has a really interesting and effective way of starting meditations often. And I'm sure a lot of you try this. It's just opening up to the experience of hearing, just to start. Whatever you're hearing, just let it in. And just receiving whatever is heard. Wide attention. You don't need to hear anything in particular or focus on any particular noise. Just whatever comes in. You're wide enough to receive it all. And you're here, present. Thoughts, of course, will come into your mind. Your attention will go to them. Just notice and, then come back to hearing. Just letting your attention rest with that. And that's kind of what we're kind of these two aspects that we cultivate meditation is both being relaxed and receptive, kind of comfortable, let's put it that way. So this is both body and mind, and also upright and attentive. So that's how we want our bodies to be, and also what we encourage in our minds. And then let that receptive attention, that awareness, take in your body. So now we're just feeling what the body feels like sitting here. Breath going in and out. Feeling your head and your shoulders, down into your arms, your back, torso, maybe the breath coming in and out. You're sitting on the chair or the cushion at your waist. Your thighs, knees, and the rest of your legs, and your feet. Just receiving the whole experience of your body. It's here, it's now, it's present. And you can receive it. Just the important thing is we're being present, we're being aware. That's all you really have to do. And then letting your attention, it might happen naturally, start picking up the breathing. And you want to keep this, or what we're going to do is we'll just keep it broad for a bit. So just feeling that breath come in through the nostrils, down into the abdomen, and then go back out again. Back and forth. Letting any cares or worries you have just fall away. You can take a break. Just that breath coming in and out. That kind of wave, like the waves at the beach, kind of coming in and out. Get to kind of be there and enjoy each one. And the real uh, practice here is not, of course, we can't catch any of these breaths. They come and go. That's surely what they do. We're practicing presence, really being with something, being right there with it, enjoying it, letting yourself center. one, of course, doesn't want to just talk for the sake of talking. Um, no point in that. So we try and, of course, all of us try, think of something that might be helpful and something that that can be done, can be used, um, and that we know well enough ourselves to some extent. So, so I was really thinking about um, what to talk about. Not everything, because not everything what occurred to me is it may not. For example, a winter retreat was a good, it's a good mine of things experienced, but everyone's practice is somewhat individual, right? And we're talking to a lot of people here, so uh, so what came to mind is not to focus on any particular practice as such or technique or um, but go back to our good old friend craving, craving, craving. So Lungpo has been very so helpful in this, bringing it back to craving and encouraging myself and of course the other monks here to investigate it. And which has been very helpful because sometimes we can look at the Buddha's teachings and it's amazing because there's so much. He gave us so much. Um, and it seems, and we're looking for, okay, so what's kind of what are some of the main themes? What are we doing here? And it seems to me that whether you're living in a monastery or a layperson, if we're doing the project of freedom and seeing things very clearly and changing our habits, uh, that learning about craving is necessary. Now, craving is just a word, right? So, uh, uh, tanha, that's what's translated as craving. It could be, I've heard a little literal translation is thirst, something along those lines, which I thought was very useful. Um, and what is so interesting about craving is I don't think I need to convince anyone, but it just occurs to me is if you look at the major lists, right? I mean, Four Noble Truths right there. We've got dukkha, what's the cause? Tanha, craving is the cause. Um, the third noble truth, the cessation of craving. And the fourth noble truth, the path leading to the end of that craving. Okay, then we have dependent origination, right? You've got all those links, and where do we work? Well, you can work at a lot of links, but a lot of it is looking at how feeling conditions craving attachment, becoming birth, sickness, old age, things that disintegrate, and that cycle of pursuing these things over and over, looking for the fix, right? Our fix. And that's funny. As I say, that word works in both ways. We keep thinking, crave it. If we follow these cravings, we'll fix ourselves in life and it'll be what we want finally. Or that, we get our fix. And that's fair enough in a way, but of course that will just perpetuate that doesn't end. Um, and it's not even a judgment call on that. It just won't end. It just can't. It just won't. So, so craving is such an important thing we learn about. Craving, desire, the kind of what our mind seems to do a lot, kind of this thing and that thing and what's happening now. And I don't like this. And, oh, my meditation is not really working, and it should be like that. Or oh, a movie. Oh, that'd be nice. Of course. Now it's worth just reflecting too that the point of the Buddha's teachings is not that all intentions towards something is bad, right? There's wholesome desire, chanda, kama chanda. Yeah. Um, so we need to learn about what craving is and what's not. So this is just kind of my setting up what we're looking at, and but in practice, what we can do is we can take one kind of craving. So there's the Buddha divided into three, you know, kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha. Craving for sense pleasures, pleasant things of the senses. Um, that being, our whole experience, right? Seeing things, hearing things. Uh, I think, yeah, I'm sorry. I think the mind could even be included in that. Um, sometimes we crave for just pleasant memories. Um, and then bhava tanha and vibhava tanha. So craving to become and craving not to be. So um, wanting to feel confident, wanting to feel, and not that wanting to feel confident is bad, but it's the type, it's the kind, it's what's happening on the inside. It's a relationship, right? It always, um, that's what this, you just keep seeing it, keep coming back to this relationship. That's what we're looking at, how we're relating to things. So craving as this force, and what's so interesting is when you start to investigate it, it's like it's really a thing. It's not a concept. It's not like, oh, if I just like, oh yeah, that's if I label these that it's a thing. Craving is just a word. Craving, and we have connotations with word. Okay, but it's a thing. It happens. It's a push. It's a pull. It's uh, it's involved in so many things, and it's so layered. So we need to get to know it. So so in our lives we can, for example, kama tanha, right? Craving for sense pleasures is a really good one to work on because it's so rich. It's been our daily experience, right? The computer provides an ample opportunities. I was very happy not to be near the computer for 3 months. And now that we're doing work, sometimes you have to be on it. And uh, yeah, it's tempting, right? So you can watch that force, the pull. Now it promises a lot, right? Oh, if you just look at the computer again, you're gonna get something. It's be exciting, right? You'll get to see something or read something, or that's of course how it works. Now, what the point of the investigation is that uh, how it tells you how it works, how you think is not actually really how it works, right? It doesn't satisfy you. It gets you kind of excited, and then you want some more, and then you can't leave. And if you stay there long enough, you're really going to know you don't want any more, right? You're burnt out and you're kind of blah, you've been computer is a good example, right? Surfing forever, food, another thing, right? Ah, just a few chips will be wonderful. It's in the evening. I mean, not to say chips are bad in the evening, but and then all of a sudden you eat half in a bag and you're feeling groggy and yucky and you got to go to sleep, wake up the next day, you ate a half a bag of chips. You know what I mean? We, it, the story it tells is not accurate. So, so it's worth investigating. So I think like this is what one thing Longpor really encouraged, and I've been so grateful, is just Yeah, getting to know craving. You have to get to know it. What is it? What does that feel like? So you can pick one of those. Sense pleasure is a very good one. Aversion, that would be, so there's three, right? So sense craving. So that we can see it's pretty obvious, more obvious. Craving to become, like, I want to be known, I want to be well liked, right? And craving, not for things not to be, aversion. I don't want this to be here. I don't want to feel this way. Um, my mind should feel like this right now in my meditation, and it's not. And you kind of struggle, which is, because actually and so this is what we're learning is that we're trying to release the craving, right? We're trying to let it cool off, just, right? So, um, and this is what we need to learn about. Seems to be the case, and if you look at the Buddha's teachings, that we're learning both about craving, but also the really, in the end, that's just, we're learning about what it what life is like without it, right? We're learning, is it useful, and we're investigating it. And I've always really been interested. There's a repeated stanza in a lot of the suttas that, um, what we're doing is, should I get the wording right? That basically our investigation of the Four Noble Truths, for example, is rooted in seeing, well, translated as seclusion, dispassion, cessation, release. So we're investigating the Four Noble Truths rooted in seeing these four things. Now, I'm just going to change that first word because actually the translation that I found useful and what seems from some of my teachers and, a very good Pali, scholar I know, unofficial Pali scholar, is that seclusion word might it might be better translated as detachment. So in my mind, it's detachment, dispassion, cessation, release. So in our meditation, one can apply this that, for example, when you're watching craving, let's say you're meditating and you can see, uh, you know, um, I'm supposed to be feeling this way right now. I'm doing, mm, this is a big, it could be, not wanting to feel that way, or to just, you kind of pushing, you're trying to get that thing. So you see that you feel the craving. Seeing is it, yeah, maybe feeling is a better word. You've got to feel this in the mind. And just taking that perspective, that's kind of the detachment. You're not in it. You're just, oh, it's, oh yeah, there it is. It's that pushing. You're watching. You're detached. It. And then, so this is step by step. This is what it's getting to. You're detached. You see, this is not, you feel, oh, I don't want to keep doing this. This is a lot of work. This is work. This is not fun. This passion sets in right away. You see, oh, and you get to know it. That's it. And you realize this is unsettled. This is not making me happy. This is not making me feel good. So that's with detachment, you finally have a perspective, basically. The detachment is so you have perspective, mindfulness sees it. Okay, then dispassion sets in. And then with the dispassion, your mind is no longer feeding it because you're now detached from it. And not only are you detached from it, but you're like, oh, this is not fun. This is not doing me any good. and then it is basically is removed of its nutrition, and it stops. And then you have the feeling of release. It's released. And you can feel that. And so that's all happening very quick. But the main thing you're seeing is that there's craving, let's say, for, I just want to get on that computer. And then you're watching it. Oh, that's very uncomfortable. I, it's very uncomfortable to have this feeling and not be doing it. And sometimes, you might need a little help to kind of detachment, dispassion. Yeah, it's just going to make me unhappy. I've done this too many times. The dispassion sets in. Then the mind drops it, cessation, and then you get the feeling of, oh, okay, I feel okay. You know, it's something relaxed. Something that was tight is relaxed. And that is a wonderful thing. And this relationship seems to be quite important because when we're doing this, we're learning about release. That's number 4, right? And this is like a small release, right? You're just learning it. But of course, the final goal of the Buddha's teachings is, the capital R release. And we're learning the trend. It's like the mind is really, it's like, it's no fault of the mind. It's just, it doesn't know. It is so used to thinking that, yeah, something out there is gonna satisfy me, and it's not even wrong in a way. Like it will be satisfying for a bit, and then it won't be, and then you got to satisfy again. It won't be, it won't be, it won't be. So we're kind of educating the mind, like, oh, no, 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 dropping things, releasing them. That's that's really nice. And then and this has effects to the whole what we're doing. For example, when we're meditating then and we think, what, I'm supposed to be getting samadhi, right? Something, concentrate. So I'm supposed to like shove my mind into a little box, right? That's what I'm doing. Get into that box and things are gonna be great. And now I mean, I'm being a little facetious, like sometimes actually that effort could be useful, but in general, it's not being driven by anything. We're just trying to like get away from those things. And I want my pleasantness and get me away from that. Lots of tanha on both of those. Craving, not so healthy. But the main thing being that, oh yeah, actually, like sometimes some teachers will translate samadhi as stillness. Um, so, or silence. I've heard that. Uh, Unification, of course, concentration. But we start to learn that, oh yeah, and the thing about samadhi is it's very consistent, right? It's like you get it's stable. And what you start to understand slowly is that, oh, release is very stable. Like just abiding in peacefulness. Oh, oh, that's nice. I don't have to get these things. I'm actually learning how to uh, learning how to be at ease with this object, and then you actually become and interested, and I don't need anything from it, so to speak. I'm just want to be here with this. This is very nice, right? And actually samadhi, that's a very supportive thing for samadhi to develop. So just kind of it has multiple, this education has multiple uh, things it touches. And and it's also useful to point out too that the point is ignorance. So sometimes it seems that easy to learn and it seems clear, and sometimes it's not clear. And just to realize that's right. It's not clear because we haven't learned that and we have some work to do, right? Or yeah, and I find this very useful because you can emphasize the investigation of the craving. You can also emphasize the investigation of the release, right? Like uh, some teachers will emphasize more of that, right? Like just abide in the just knowing, because if you're just knowing, you're not craving. You're just letting it, you're just releasing. So there's more of that there. So this detachment, dispassion, cessation, release is a good way of a good teaching to investigate and to establish almost like symbols in your mind, so that when things happen, you can just very quickly the mind goes, oh yeah, you're not talking to yourself, but detach. Oh yeah, that was detached. Oh yeah, relax. I detached, and then there was a sense of relaxation, or you got aversion to that thing that person is saying, and you clue and you go, okay, just let's just watch this. I'm averse. Already, very quickly there could just be oh, that's easier to take. And then you have a perspective to learn it and do something with it. Um, and sometimes release could involve, you have to do something a little more energetic. Like if you're really angry about something, you might, there's no release is happening right now. What do I do? Okay, you might have to pick up metta. You might need to, or equanimity or something to get the mind through, because um, just that sometimes it's as easy as just seeing, and those four steps just kind of ding, 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 happen very quick. But not always. Sometimes we have to, it's very thick, let's say with aversion, or uh, craving, yeah, to become well liked, for example. Sometimes we have to bring in reflections that, you know, uh, praise is impermanent, right? Or something like that. Um, or with, the computer or the chips, where is that going to lead? Right? I've been there how many times? So where are we going to, I don't want to do that. No. So again, we're kind of bringing the mind to releasing the craving. So I just think it's such an important part of the practice. And I think it is something we can work with even even if you have a somewhat busy life. But then of course, you can't take on, you can't try and eat the whole thing at once. You just got to pick the mind. You have to be sensible with your own mind. How much can it see, and what can you work with? So you might establish like, right. So computers are good, right? Before you sit down at the computer, you establish, okay, I am going to get up after I finish that. I'm just going to do that, and that will help deal with the sense craving that comes up. And also, it clues your mind in so that when the desire does come up, you recognize it. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, don't go to all those other sites. Let's just, okay, I'll check the weather just to get myself, and then I close it. Then I go away. So you give yourself things to work with that you can work with. But you can, yeah, you get to know which cravings you're dealing with, and you start to learn about them. And this is really helpful. And it's like, this kind of idea that samadhi, that it's a whole path. So it's not, it's not like sila samadhi panya, where sometimes you learn wisdom and then that reinforces these other things, right? They're all reinforcing each other. So this one is really useful. Um, yeah, and I think that's about all I have to say. It's just such a useful investigation. It can be as simple as just noticing, becoming, aversion, or sense desire, just getting to know them. Pick one. And it can also certainly, when you're meditating, either sitting or walking, whatever posture, to see this playing out at a more step by step or clear level. So yeah, that would be my encouragement. So with that said, I will end the talk.
Okay. Andamayam Dhammakataya Sadhukaram Dharmase Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
So shall we allow some questions now, Tana Sirimedho?
Yes, that'd be great,
Okay.
Jane.
So if you have a question, please go ahead. You can use the raise hand symbol. Just unmute yourself and ask a question when the time looks right to do that. So yes, please go ahead.
MA, Tanha, that will give you sense craving, sensual craving. Bhava Tanha, the next one is Bhava, Bhava, and then Tanha, same thing. That's craving to become. And then Vibhava Tanha it's just a negation, right? It's Vibhava Tanha. So that comes up a lot. I mean, it's very that's kind of with all of these. They're in a lot of suttas. I don't know the ones off the top of my head. I didn't have time to reference one. But if you just search tanha, in a context, you'll definitely get there. So those are those. The detachment, dispassion, cessation, release. I had it memorized. Viveka, so that's detachment or seclusion. Viveka, viraga, dispassion. Viraga, raga is passion. V again is the negation. Viraga. I might be a little Viraga. Viraga. Um, Viveka, viraga. Oh, nirodha for cessation. And release is, oh boy. Well, there's enough Dhamma teachers on this for, former current maybe Norman or Molly. Can someone remind me what release is in Pali? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Norman, can you unmute Norman and Molly?
Yeah, just unmuted. I'm mute on this. I've blanked on it.
Yeah, me too. It's
Randall, how about you?
Randall, anybody?
I'm pretty blank as well. Of course, I think of mukha.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Randall.
That's good.
Thanks. I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, but Vosaga. Something along those lines. Okay, but they're an often this quadruplet occurs many times in the suttas, and I think it well, if you read enough suttas, you'll realize that everybody picks up at something. So for myself, this one I found interesting because it does occur so many times, and especially the Buddha, like for example, there's a sutta where it's an oft quoted where the Ananda says, "Oh," he goes to the Buddha and says, "Oh, the Blessed One, to the Blessed One, it seems to me like um, a good friendship is half the holy life." And people might have heard this one. And the Buddha says, "Oh, not so, not so, Ananda. Good friendship is the whole of the holy life." And I'm paraphrasing the sutta, but he says, and good friendship is the whole of the holy life. One is good friends, basically with the Eightfold Path, rooted in detachment, dispassion, cessation, release. So this is the thing. It's like it comes up again and again. So if you were to check a context, contents for like uh, Viveka, that first one, you'll definitely find it. And I found it so interesting because sometimes you wonder, well, like, what is it supposed to? Yeah, you do the sila thing, you do the samadhi, you look at the three characteristics, and then what happens, right? What happens to the mind? How do I get to that nibbana thing or that release? As far as I can tell, this is it. And I think that's why the Buddha keeps rooted in this. You're trying to see this. You're trying to see craving cease. You're trying to understand it, right? And that's, you come back to the Four Noble Truths. That's what we're trying to see. We're trying to understand dukkha. Why is dukkha there? Because of craving. When craving ceases, there's no dukkha. And how do we do that? Right? Is Eightfold Path rooted in detachment, dispassion, cessation, release. So yeah, it's really worth investigating. Um, uh, yeah, I hope that answered your question. Great. And anybody else? The question doesn't have to be related to anything I've talked
I would like to ask a question. Do you think that the um, release is actually like a little bit of nibbana?
about. Yeah, yes and no. Because nibbana just means cooling, right? It's
Cooling.
right. It's that apparently, I'm not an expert, but apparently, I think I've read Ajahn Jeff point out that I think it was Ajahn Jeff that, back in the day when someone had cooked rice and, it was too hot to eat, they say, "Oh, wait for it to nibbana." That's basically how the word was used. It needs to cool off. And you find all these references to, the uh, Adita Pariyaya Sutta. Everything is burning, right? The Buddha often employs, that we're kind of burning with tanha, and that we're trying to put it out. So, yeah, and I think it's probably it's giving one a what would that be? It certainly seems to point in the direction. I'd say that. Yeah. So that's as much as I know, Jane. I haven't. I
No,
have no direct. Yeah.
that was helpful.
Yeah.
Could I also bring up something that I learned when I was there on Monday and ask you to speak a
Mhm.
little bit about it? And that was, you mentioned the long walk that you did in
Oh yeah, yeah.
fall. I think it would be interesting for all of us to maybe what was that like? And also in a way, what were you learning in that process of that experience.
Right. Oh, that's good. Yeah, this is easy now. Now I don't have to, I can just remember. Uh, and yeah, so I've reflected on it. It was so what Jane was referring to is this is really nothing special in the sense that, this is the Thai forest tradition, which I've been so lucky to ordain into, be accepted into, and traditionally, especially in Thailand, there was these were itinerant monks wandering around. You might have heard of Lung Lung Pu Man, right? The grandfather of this. So he was known for this. He never stayed in one place for more than 1 year continuous until I think he was 74. And it's a tough climate. So 7-year-old man, living out under just a mosquito net on the ground. Um, so so I was just inspired to do that. And I finally had kind of a window to do it, and just a short one. It's a little tricky in our climate because the rains retreat, which we do every year, is in the Indian subcontinent. That's the monsoon, so it's kind of July, August, September, or a little later. That's when the monsoon is in India. So the Buddha set out this thing that the monks should stay in one place for that time. So we honor that in this climate. So one can't really do this kind of wandering in the nice weather, which is tricky. So I did it just after that period and the opening of our new hall here. So it was mid-November. So I had the crazy idea to, I was going to go, the plan was to go visit Bhavana Society and Bhante Ji there in West Virginia, and then go down to Forest Dhamma and Ajahn Dik. So he's a little less well known, but he was Lungta Mahabua's attendant for 17 years straight. Yeah, and he's from Virginia. He's opened a monastery there. It's very he's a wonderful teacher, and he also doesn't have many recorded talks. I think there are exactly 3 online. So anyway, so I wanted to visit, kind of finish this project, go visit these monasteries, and I realized, well, maybe I can try and walk from the airport to Bhavana Society, and so that's what I tried to do. I did realize beforehand I wouldn't be able to get there to exactly this place, but I wanted to get to the town closest because the last stretch was like a turnpike and no shoulder on the road, and bad idea. So yeah, I flew into Dulles International mid-November with no money, and I didn't know anyone, and no food. Well, I guess I had some allowables we're allowed to have, and I started walking on a rail trail. Well, first I had to walk through kind of industrial park, or walk out of the airport. That was interesting in itself. They don't exactly make these things easy to get out of if you're walking. So I walked to the airport, then I walked through this industrial park, then I hit the rail trail, and then it was kind of a straight shot. So I did that for about 5 nights. Right. So the long story short, why I did it was to see what it was like, because that's our tradition, and see if it would work, see if my health is good enough for it, a number of things. And it was very challenging. Yeah, it was. I was doing, like, my first Pindapot was at a Wegmans. Anyone been to the States? Wegmans is like a really upscale supermarket, right? Okay, Randy's been Randall. It's like not quite Whole Foods, but we're pretty high up there. And it turns out where I was walking through the kind of suburbs of Washington, D.C., it's quite wealthy, right? Because you have a lot of people who work in government or connected, right? Or tech or whatever. So anyway, it was at a Wegmans. After sleeping, I had to hop a fence and sleep beside a pit mine. uh, which is actually really neat. Beautiful spot, um, way up high because I'm not in the pit mine. I was up on a shelf above it. So anyway, Wegmans, and it was very cold, so it turns out that it was hard to get food at a coffee shop, but it seemed to work much better. I did get food at the Wegmans eventually. Um, a very wonderful man stopped, and so he got me a sub and some fruit, and then I got to Wegmans. Anyway, it was a real adventure. It was one of those experiences where, what's a day in usual life, but I remember each one of those days and each hour kind of, because it was very challenging. I knew it would be challenging, but cold is very hard to deal with that long. So I could tell this is really interesting. It's fun story. Like I figured out that it turns out libraries are your best bet. So not because you want to read books, but because libraries have um, a number of things you need to survive. They have water. Well, you don't. Washroom is useful. They're warm, and if you're doing a tudong and you don't know where you are, they have Wi-Fi. So I had brought, um, you know, modern age. I had brought, uh, yeah, had an iPad, but with no data. I do not want, but so I could connect to Wi-Fi at a library if I need. So that has helped me figure out where to do pin to pot or where I could go next. So I did it that way. I had gear, I could camp. But all in all, to get to the question, which was really interesting, is um, it was a great experience, even if you're not a monk, monastic, but just, I was totally dependent. And it was a very stark realization that the Buddha actually set this up so that I'm totally dependent. I I cannot feed myself. Any other person would just go into any store with a bit of money and buy something and eat. I couldn't do it. I had no, just had a bowl, and it was kind of shocking, and it was interesting to watch the mind kind of, oh my gosh, you can't do this in today's world. Like this is insane, but it did work, and it was a deliberate experiment. I'll say that's probably the best way to say it. I didn't know if it would work. I wanted to try though, so I did, and yeah, I got fed. I wasn't that hardcore. It was too cold to be too hardcore about it. So I had given myself permission to the middle night of the 5. And if I was in a bad state, I could call someone at the monastery, and they'd offer to get me a room, a warm place for the night. And I had a wonderful friend, also from a layman from Toronto, who'd offered to get me a meal if I needed it. So that midnight and day, I had to call in reinforcements, and I did just that because I woke up that day at some point you're just too cold, right? I was just too cold, and I discovered this relationship that if to get food on Tudong, of course you have to wait somewhere with your bowl. And if it's cold, it makes you far colder, right? You're not moving. There's no body heat. You're just sitting there freezing. And so this you need the food to warm up, but to get the food, you have to get colder. So I woke up that morning and I knew exactly what I had to do. So I contacted these two wonderful people, and so I got a really, really good meal. It was it was so helpful, and it was so basic, right? Just to be hungry and cold and then have a warm meal is like you just wow, you know. And I was a little brain dead at that point too, because I'd just been you just don't have enough food and you're cold, so you just slowly watch it's probably a good reflection on getting old, right? And losing faculties, because my faculties were kind of impaired, right? I'm just kind of just getting myself through, and just the food's coming in, and you just watch the whole body and the mind just kind of perk up, and things start moving again, and you feel normal. So it was a real experiment in all these things, and uh, so the lessons, yeah, I meditated every evening. I made sure I did that, but really most of the time you're just trying to survive, and move from point A to point B, and it was very challenging, and makes you, yeah, learn how to let go, right? For example, when one is dying, I assume, one is totally kind of dependent. One has no choice. This is going to happen to you whether you like it or not. And in this situation, there were a lot of things happening to me that I had no control over, and that brought up aversion or fear. And I think that, so it's kind of hard to uh, to grasp it, but I know it was very valuable, and it's like one of those things where you've done it. And it also helped that the ending was nice. The ending was miraculous. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I've just had to turn around because I can't get on the highway to get where I need to go. I can't ask anybody for anything. That was one of the ethos of this tradition, so I wasn't asking. Went into there was this kind of public park which had like tennis courts and a frisbee golf thing and a performing arts center outside of town, right? Beautiful, mowed, big lawns that you get in the States sometimes, just huge open area for picnics. So I went to this, uh, just covered area where there's picnic tables. Kind of sat down. I was kind of exhausted. Hadn't eaten that day. I just had to turn around. I didn't know how I was going to get where I was going to go. But I'm kind of seasoned at this point, so I'm just kind of accepting it. I saw porta potties. Oh, I really use that. Walked to the porta potty, used the porta potty, got out, and a man walks up to me from the parking lot and says, "Oh, are you a monk?" And I say, "Yes, I'm a monk." He said, "Oh, wow, I used done Zen, and he's been to the Zen Center on the San Francisco Zen Center, and I guess Ajahn Amaro, Luang Por Pastor used to come talk there, and he's also met Ajahn Dick, and I'm in the middle of nowhere in, rural Virginia, and he ends up, giving me a drive, wonderful company, a meal, and a place to sleep that night, warm place to sleep. So it all ended well, but it's one of those experiences that was very difficult, but in the end, you just think, when do I get to try this again? You just, so it was really great. I think we've all had, experiences like that where you almost deliberately put yourself in a challenging situation. And even though the mind doesn't like it at the time, once you actually get in the situation, of course, at the end, you've learned a lot and you're quite grateful. So I thought it was really good. And actually, what was really neat too is when I'm sitting like I really appreciated that this wasn't kind of crazy, or like I got to this monastery, Forest Dhamma, and I heard stories of monks doing things even crazier than that. There's one monk, I've heard of a monk now who has done Tudong in Alaska, deep into the woods, and another monk who walked from, how many states did he cross? He walked through 5 states, totally on Tudong. Totally on Tudong. I was just out for 6 days. This guy, and it worked. That's the thing. He survived. He just had a bowl and his stuff, and he got fed. And so it's really amazing. And it's, of course, that thing just humanity can be so wonderful when push comes to shove, right? Yeah, it's just incredible. So yeah, it was a really, really interesting experience. But I have promised, myself to some extent that I'll never do it in that much cold weather again. It's just not, it's just too cold. So yeah, did I answer your question, Jane? Is that?
Thank you very much. That was
Yeah.
it was very interesting just to hear the experience and for us to imagine what that would be like. And also, yeah, just, as you point out, you're putting yourself in a situation with so much uncertainty. And anyway, yes, thank you very much for giving us a little look into that. Appreciate
Yeah, great. Uh, well, I guess I think we're out of time.
Yes,
Um,
did you want to do a final chant then?
yeah, why don't we, I think you can pull up the book, right, Jane?
Yeah, I can.
So why don't we do the highest blessings?
Oh, let's see if I have that one. Okay, just one sec. I think
Yeah.
the highest blessings.
If you have the book, it's page 46.
Well, I just have I have Sublime
Right.
Abidance, Universal Well-Being, Verses of Sharing and Merit. That's it.
All right. I think that's a good one. Verses of sharing and aspiration.
Okay.
I can find it in my book. Oh,
It's 33 on my,
oh, okay.
does that make sense? Is that in yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Share.
Okay.
See if I can.
All right. So we'll share some good wishes with everybody. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice and through this active sharing. May all desires and attachments quickly cease and all harmful states of mind until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.